Hello, this is Keith All, and in today's tutorial we're going to learn how to create a box blur drop shadow effect in Photoshop. As you can see on the screen, I have just a layer that I created a texture with, and then plus an image on top. But behind that image we have this box blur effect, and it creates like a drop shadow effect on all sides. So in order to do this, there again, if you're an avid Photoshop user, you know that there are multiple ways to accomplish the same effect. So in today's tutorial, I'll show you how to do this with a rectangle, and I'll show you also a way to create an additional layer and it'll create the same effect. So let me first show you, I'm going to delete this layer here and we'll start from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a rectangle first and then we'll do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rectangle tool and then I'm going to draw a rectangle that is slightly larger than the image that we're going to create a drop shadow effect for. Now, once you draw a rectangle, it's automatically going to fill it with whatever your foreground color is. In this case, it's black. So I'm going to choose Enter to accept that. I'm going to now go up to Filter, Blur, and there's an option here called Box Blur. So it's going to ask me whether or not I want to rasterize it or convert it to a smart object. And then either one will work. But it brings up this dialog box and it gives you a chance to increase the radius for this blur. As you can see, it already started creating this blur effect for that. So if I decrease the pixels, it gets less blurry. If I increase the pixels, it'll get more blurry around the edges. So what I want to do is I want to bring it to a point, in this case probably right around, I think 18. No, let's try 10. Let's click OK. Now what I want to do is I want to bring this layer behind the image. So as you can see, it creates this blur effect. Also looks like a drop shadow that appears around all sides of this particular image. Now of course you could also decrease the opacity of it. As you can see, the effect is becoming lighter. So you could choose to play around with this to get the effect that you want. So let's now do the same thing by creating a new layer, filling that layer with black, resizing that layer, and then we could still use the filter, blur, box blur effect. So let's go ahead and delete this layer. Now let's see. Let's delete this. There we go. Now let's go up to the top layer, which is the image. Let's create a new layer. And now let's fill that layer with the foreground color. In this case, it's black. So I'm going to press Alt-Delete on a PC. It fills it. Now let's use the transform function to resize this layer. So I press Control-T on a PC, and now I'm just going to resize it. Let's decrease the opacity. There we go. Now let's resize this. I'm going to make it slightly larger than the image. Let's bring this up here. Okay, now I'm going to press enter to apply those changes. Now let's go up to filter. Let's increase the opacity. Let's go to filter, blur, box blur, and again the same thing. So I'm going to leave it what we used the last time. Again, this is something that you can play around with to get the effect that you want. Let's click OK. Let's drag this layer now behind the image, and you get the same effect of getting this drop shadow or blur effect behind your top layer, which is the image. So let's decrease the opacity a little bit. Okay, so there you go, and that's how you could create like a box blur around your image that also looks like a drop shadow effect using the filter, blur, and then box blur option. Hopefully this tutorial gave you another way to create better photographs using Photoshop. Thank you for stopping by. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and if you and also click on that bell notification so you always get updated or notified when I upload a new video. Also, please like, share, and comment because it helps out the community. Thanks again for stopping by today. You have an awesome day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye now.